sit-in. This is Steelhouse Barbecue.
Okay.
Both of these places is where the sit-ins took place. And so people would sit down and become limp in front of that door, and they would come out and pour ammonia on them. Now, since that has happened, the granddaughter of the guy who owned the place then has come out and apologized for what her grandfather did back in those days.
Come with me to Randolph County, North Carolina, as I link up with local historian Chip Foust to explore some of the county's Black history. From historic churches and schools to the people, communities, and places connected to the Civil Rights Movement, Randolph County has stories that deserve to be told. Some of the best history is found when you get off the beaten path. Let's explore. Hey, what's up, folks? Welcome back to another episode of History Before Us, and I am a stone's throw away from Charlotte, North Carolina, in Asheboro, North Carolina. Now, a lot of times when people think Asheboro, they may automatically think the North Carolina Zoo, but the city has much more to offer, and that is some Black history. And we got the man for that right here, Mr.
Hello.
Faust.
Hey, how you
Chip,
doing, brother?
What's up,
Nice
brother?
to
How
meet
you doing, man?
All right.
And we are here at the George Washington Carver Community Enrichment Center, right? And then also the Clyde L. Faust Performing Arts Theater, which is dedicated to your late father.
Right, yes.
Thank you for welcoming me here, brother.
No problem, man. Glad
We're
to
going to get
have
into
you.
a lot of stuff today, right?
Yes, sir. Yes, sir. Let's do it.
Yeah, so tell people who you are, man.
My name is Clyde Foust Jr. Everybody around here calls me Chip. I'm the person that runs. I'm the president of the GWCC, George Washington Carver Community Enrichment Center. I'm also the local president of the Asheboro Randolph County NAACP.
Nice.
So it's an honor to be here.
That's what's up, man. That's what's up. So the name George Washington Carver, obviously people, if you're a history enthusiast, you should know who he is, right?
Right.
But why did you all decide to go with George Washington Carver?
Well, years before this building was built,
Okay.
back in the 1950s and 1960s, actually, there was a man named C.A. Barrett, and Mr. Barrett used to be the principal of the segregated high school here in Randolph County, or one of the segregated high schools here in Randolph County, and he created a school called George Washington Carver College, which taught trades to local individuals. So he might teach sewing, it might teach house cleaning, it might teach carpentry. It basically taught people who didn't have a high school diploma the trades that they would need to be able to support their family.
Okay.
Years later, an organization of local citizens got together and they took over what Professor Barrett had started. And so they created the George Washington Carver College nonprofit organization. And that organization is what we still have today. It is an organization that is dedicated to beautification and enrichment of our side of town. I grew up about 5 houses down from here.
Okay.
And so this is, when I was growing up, we used to call it the Hill, right? And so all the very, very rich people in Asheboro lived on the mountain, and this was the Hill.
Yeah.
But this is a place, the neighborhood has always been very close-knit.
Yeah.
I used to walk this street, going to play basketball down at the court almost every day. And it's very, very rich in culture and very, very rich in history.
I love to hear that. Now, did you ever leave and then come back?
Yeah,
Or-
I left
Okay,
and
so-
went to college. I went to work. I came back whenever I had my kids and moved back to Asheboro.
How important was that for you to reconnect with the city and the town, of course, or the town rather, that helped instill all of the values and the morals and things like that you have today, in addition to your parents, of course? But.
Well, I tell you what, it was actually sort of hard. My grandmother, who ran Gale's Funeral Home, which is the oldest Black-owned business in Randolph County, and I'm the assistant manager there as well. But
he doesn't have a hat on today, y'all, but clearly he wears many hats.
but she would tell you when she was living, I'm never coming back to Randolph County. I mean, it was just understood that I would never come back here. And that's because you have the east side, and you have a progressive pocket in a county that is extremely conservative, to the extent that they're proud of their conservative. 75% of this county voted for Donald Trump. And I would say up to 10 to 15 years ago, it was a totally different atmosphere than it is now. Luckily, as more and more people start to speak out, as more and more people start to question authority, you're starting to see a shift in that. There are things right now that progressives have been able to accomplish in Randolph County that would have never happened 20 years ago, 15 years ago. And so things are changing, but back in the 90s, when I moved here, when I moved back here, it just wasn't conducive for anybody that was trying to be upwardly mobile, especially a black man that was trying to be upwardly mobile in Randolph County. As a matter of fact, one of the biggest problems that we have in terms of finding educators, we're in a small county, so we can't pay what Guilford County and Wake County and Mecklenburg County, we can't pay what they pay, right? So even if you do get teachers to come and teach in our schools, many of them choose to live in Guilford County, right? We still got a 30-foot statue of a Confederate soldier in front of our courthouse. So that tells you the type of mentality that has been here for the last 150 years.
For sure.
Yeah.
And mixed in with that mentality is a lot of blackness too, though. A lot of meaning historically, things that have progressed. What you're
gonna find is a lot of perseverance.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah.
You're gonna find stories like there was a young lady. There was a church called Strebe Congregation, the Lassiters. These people, imagine walking from where you are right now to Howard University to go to college. All right, that's what members of that family did. And many of them became brick masons, and they built the house. They built the bricks to build their houses, and all of their children became educators and became assets to the community. Right? You're going to see, like the church that we're going to go to later, Greater St. John's Baptist Church. In the face of people getting arrested, let me tell you, it wasn't just that they were arresting people. They were putting the names of the people who were part of the protest movement in the paper so that when your employer saw that you were part of the protest movement, you would get fired. In that environment where they're openly threatening you, not just with, we're going to put you in jail, but we're going to take away your livelihood too, they're still training people on how to be nonviolent protesters at that church. They're still saying we're going to keep moving forward no matter what. In the face of, it wasn't just individual adversity. It wasn't just a group of good old boys over here that don't want to see blacks succeed. It was systemic. It was in the government. It was in the economy of Randolph County that we don't want to see black people succeed.
When was the building erected? Give us what it took to get it going, and how important is this as it relates to being an asset to the community today?
Well, first of all, this building started way before it was actually built. This was the dream of not only my father, but a group of people that were on that board from the 1980s. And from the 1980s, what they did was they bought property and they held fundraisers continually over and over and over again. We used to have, right now, one of the jewels of Randolph County is called the Sunset Theater. Well, in the 1990s, George Washington Carver owned the Sunset Theater. It was a derelict, closed, abandoned building when my father and the members of the board bought it, and they rehabilitated the building. They love to tell stories, and these are people in their 60s and 70s, right? And they love to tell stories about how in the 90s they were up there with shovels and they were taking out shovel loads of pigeon manure, right? And getting that building up and running again. But what they would do with that building is they would hold talent shows, and they would hold gospel concerts, and they would raise money. And the money that they raised was the foundation for us to be able to build this building. And now this building, we own it free and clear because of the work that these guys did.
That's what's up, man. That's what perseverance and dedication is.
And faith. And faith. I mean, it was 100% faith. They did not have any idea how they were going to be able to get to the next phase, but they knew that they had to keep moving as far as they could until something broke, and that's exactly what happened.
And because of that, we also have this beautiful mural of your father, right? And so when you walk in and you see this, right? So when you walk in and you see this, and when it first was finished, what were the emotions that kind of took over you when seeing this?
The most important thing about this is I want people to realize that he lived 5 houses down the road, right? 5 houses away from here. And if he can do it, anybody else in this community can do the exact same thing or better, right? If he was the stepping stone, then we can do so much more because of what he did. And it's important to me to be able to see it, but it's really more important for that generation 50 years from now to be able to see that somebody from this neighborhood built this building and grew this organization. And so that's the main reason that it's there.
I love this quote up here when it says, "When I couldn't find a job, I made one." And this is directly from your father.
Yeah.
He had a lot of things going.
Oh yeah.
He was involved in so much stuff.
Well, and you got to understand, he was in the military. And so he was a Air Force trained mechanic. So imagine you've gone off. Now remember where we're at. We're in a place right now that even to this day is so proud of their conservatism and 75% for Trump. So you can imagine what this place looked like in 1964 and 1963, right? So imagine going off, fighting for your country, being a member of the military, and being trained by the military in terms of being a mechanic. And then you come back here, right? And you've worked on some of the most advanced, motorized equipment out there, but you come back here and don't nobody want to hire a black man.
Yeah.
Don't nobody want to hire a black man. Not only do they not want to hire a black man because they don't want to hire a black man, they don't want to hire a black man because their customers would stop doing business with them if they hired a black man.
Yeah.
So imagine trying to start a family in that environment, right? And so what he did was he didn't let it discourage him. He didn't move away. What he said was, I tell you what, if you won't give me a job, I'll give myself a better job than you could ever give me in the first place. And that's exactly what he did.
That's exactly what he did. Shout out to him, man.
Yeah.
Shout out to your pops.
Oh, yeah.
And he passed in 2016.
Yes.
All right. One interesting thing is that you all, what I read here is the largest black-owned, or one of the largest black-owned camera shops in the nation. What led to the camera shop?
Another thing that Randolph County is known for is Randolph Community College. Right. And it has one of the best photo departments in the country.
Okay.
Back in the 80s and 90s, it was nationally known for its photo department. I'm assuming it still is today.
Yeah.
Well, he was one of the first graduates, and he was the first black graduate of that particular department whenever it first opened up.
Okay.
And so he was able to build relationships with Kodak, with Polaroid. So he wasn't just a photographer. What he did was he was able to use his relationships, for instance, with Kodak. And then he would go to the city of Raleigh or Wake County, and he would sell Wake County all of the film that they would need. For instance, you know how much film a sheriff's department would go through over the course of a year, right? Well, he was selling all of that film to Wake County, to Mecklenburg County, to places outside of the state of North Carolina. And so he built a business basically on buying the material that he needed for his photography business, but selling that material to anybody else he could find that needed that stuff.
Yeah.
And he did it on a national basis. Okay. Yeah, when I was in high school, that was my job. I used to drive the delivery van, and we were driving all over the state of North Carolina and Southern Virginia and South Carolina to deliver products to businesses and to municipalities that needed photo equipment.
That's what's up, man. All right, so before we head down to some of the other spots, outside there is a garden. You called it a STEAM garden.
It's a STEAM garden, STEAM. It is a venture between Asheboro City Schools, the Randolph County Arts Council, of course, GWCC, and the North Carolina Zoo. And what we're doing is, it's the summer months now, so we've got to prune everything. But during the year, the students at the after-school program are actually learning about gardening, and they're learning about science in gardening, right? And we also have these buckets out here. These are actually pollination stations.
Okay.
And they're learning about the life cycle of pollinating animals. And so each one of these buckets is sort of like, they call them food stops for bees and hummingbirds and things of that nature. But it's all designed to create environments where the kids can actually observe nature, and have that as part of their curriculum as well.
That's what's up, man. And I love that it's so hands-on too, because and they're not just hitting buttons, they're actually learning how something from inception can grow into something that you have to cultivate, you're responsible for, and so forth and so on.
And they're bringing shovels out here, and they're digging in and planting seeds, and they're watering seeds, and then they're cataloging the growth, and why did this one grow when this one didn't grow, and why did this one get infested with bugs, and why didn't these get infested with bugs, and so they're learning all of that at the same time.
Just a whole nother level of curiosity.
Yeah, exactly.
All right,
exactly.
So are we walking to the church?
Yeah,
okay,
right.
so
That's the top of the church right down there.
Okay. Now, this community is a predominantly African-American community, right?
Yes.
Now, historically, was it always that way, or was it a situation where there was some redlining or what have you that took place, and then they were brought out here? How did that work?
When my parents first moved here, they were denied the opportunity to build their house on this street. They would not allow them to build their house on this street. Well, I'm sorry, you could build the house, but you couldn't have the driveway coming to this street, right?
Wow.
And over the years, that obviously changed.
Okay.
But yeah, it was not in the 1950s. This was not a black neighborhood.
Okay.
Basically.
Where were the black folks living at during that time?
Probably out in the county.
Further out?
Yeah, farther out in the county, I would imagine. Yeah.
Now, as it relates to your surname and other people's surnames around here, obviously we're in the American South, and the institution of enslavement obviously was, rampant throughout the various different areas. How did the institution of slavery and post-emancipation shape and mold some of these neighborhoods and some of the surnames of the people that are here today?
Well, we've been able, through our slave memorial, to see dozens, if not hundreds, of the surnames that we all have today can be traced back to the enslavers of this area. I mean, you can go to our registered deeds office right now, and you can still see deeds to enslaved individuals. So you'll see that that the Foust owned, multiple slaves, the McLaughlins, and so yeah, you definitely do see the impact of slavery. I think the lasting impact, though, would have to be on the families.
Right.
The way that individuals were sold apart, just taking imagine you come home one day and somebody didn't pay their bills, and so the sheriff comes into your house and takes your daughter.
Right.
Because somebody else didn't pay their bills.
Right.
Well, that happened thousands of times in Randolph County.
Over and over. Over
and over again. It would create a situation where you would build a numbness to it, right? How do you live? You're a parent. You have any kids?
Yep.
So you're a father. Imagine growing up and you watched them take your uncle's son. Imagine seeing them taking your grandfather's. And this could happen any minute now. How do you go out and plow back 40 with that hanging over you, right? Yeah. It creates a numbness, and it creates a mentality that people would have to have just so that they could survive.
Yeah.
Right? And that mentality is, I think, still affecting African Americans to this day.
Yeah, for sure. And you talk about generational trauma.
Yeah.
When you talk about epigenetics and things like that, it goes hand in hand. So you're absolutely right about that, for sure.
More than that, though, think about all of the white people that let it happen, right?
Touché.
The people who had the power, not just because they could vote, because they had the economic power to change it. Why didn't they? Because they were brought up for hundreds of years being taught that blacks were inferior, that blacks weren't actually all human. Well, black people were taught that same thing as well, right? And so that is not just American, but that was worldwide, so that the world could benefit from the atrocities of slavery. They told themselves that this isn't really hurting. You're not going against God.
Right.
This isn't really hurting God's children. These are other than God's children. And if you do that for hundreds of years, you can't just flip a switch in 1865 and think that mentality changes when the switch changes.
Especially when you have some people that are bitter. That change actually happened.
Who are mad because they lost their property. Well, the slaver got paid. Yeah. Right? The slaver got paid. It was
up to $300.
Yeah. We've got documentation now where we've found the Confederate payrolls, and you will see that this person was a slave and they paid for that slave, but they paid the slaver.
Yeah.
So this guy, first of all, he's got to be out there fighting, risking his life, and he don't even want to be there.
Yeah.
But on top of the fact that he didn't want to be there and he's risking his life, the money that everybody else was getting, that he's seeing everybody else in the camp get, is going to somebody who ain't even fighting.
Yeah.
That happened a lot here.
That is pimping at its finest.
Yeah.
So,
exactly.
So we're at Greater St. John Missionary Baptist Church. Is this one of the older churches here?
It is one of the older churches, but this church has a lot of significance with us because during the Civil Rights Movement of the 1950s and 60s, this is where people would come to train for nonviolent protests. And so they would train here, but on top of training here, before they would march or do any type of nonviolent protest, they would also pray here before they left. And so this church at that time was like an epicenter. And that's why when we have our march now, we march every year in Juneteenth to honor those people who made those sacrifices. We always start the march right here.
Okay. When was the church established?
I'm not sure.
Okay.
I'm not sure about
Do we
that.
know as it relates to who was leading some of those marches back in the day?
Reverend Gilliam, who was the pastor here. Reverend Gilliam was one of the main individuals that was helping to organize. He was also the president of the NAACP. And so, yeah, he was a driving force. As a matter of fact, in the county, they vote in a district setting where you vote for the councilman for District 1 and you vote for the councilman for just District 2. That was created so that blacks would have a better opportunity for representation, right? Now, they cheated. I'll just say that they cheated because of the way they did it. But that district setup was created because of Reverend Gilliam and the NAACP at that time.
Wow. And when you all start your march, which way does it go, and what does it consist of?
We start here, and we go down this street. We go to Fayetteville Street, and we cross that, and we go right downtown to where the slave memorial is put up. And we usually put it up right in front of the Confederate memorial. Now,
how has that been over the years as it's continued to progress?
You know, it's getting easier.
Okay,
it's getting much easier. It was extremely hard. One of the years that we did it, we had when Heather Heyer got killed. Mm-hmm. We had strong resistance. The police had to come out in riot gear to get between us and the people who were yelling at us because we wasn't leaving.
Yeah.
You know. Yeah. But yeah, so we had strong resistance back then, and now. It's good to see the county sort of changing. But what we do during that march, we'll start in this parking lot right here. As we're walking, we found over 1,600 names of slaves in those slave deeds. So we're calling out each one of those names as we walk. And we're giving information about them because we're honoring them.
Yeah, for sure.
And it's not just honoring, and trust me, this is June in North Carolina. It's 100 degrees. It was 100 degrees last time when we did it. We're doing that because we're also honoring the people who were praying in this church in the 1960s. I mean, imagine going to McDonald's and not being able to get a burger like everybody else. Mm-hmm. That's the life that they lived. There's a young lady who is, if she's in her 60s, who was arrested at 8 years old because she drank out of a water fountain for white people. And she's still living, she's still here today. You know, that deserves to not only be honored every year, we have to make sure it's never forgotten, because there are some people in this country who want to take us back to that. I don't care what nobody says.
Yeah.
You know, and so the people in this church, the people, the ancestors who built this church, they were very instrumental in Randolph County in trying to change that.
Absolutely. So where to next?
Well, we got to drive to the next
car,
place.
right?
Yeah.
All right, let's do it.
We're going to go to Central Gym. This is
Central Gym.
This was the black high school during segregation.
All right, cool.
Okay.
All right, we're at location number 3.
Yeah. So this is the Central High School and Gym, and this is where this was the segregated high school for black families in Randolph County. I do think there was another one that was farther out in the county.
Okay.
I'm not sure about that one, but this is where my father and most of the black people in the county went to school. And there's a marker over here from the last graduating class.
Yep.
And this was the last graduating class in 1965. And the thing that's important about that is, when you look at history, you see that Brown versus Board of Education, we were supposed to be desegregating schools in 1955.
Yeah, man.
This is 10 years later that they're still having this school open, right?
10 years.
So that just shows you the type of roadblocks that people had. Even when the federal government said you had to desegregate, Randolph County was like, no, the hell we don't.
Exactly.
No, the hell we don't. You know, you talk about, we just had Juneteenth.
Yeah.
And Juneteenth celebrates the United States troops that went into Texas and liberated the slaves in 1865. And so the thought is, well, it was just this pocket of people in Texas that were keeping their slaves enslaved. Well, we can tell you, because we've got the documentation in our slave memorial, they were still selling slaves here in 1865. They were still selling slaves after the Emancipation Proclamation up until 1865. So there was heavy resistance to desegregation. There was heavy resistance to creating a place in our history where blacks could be treated as equal. And in that heavy resistance, the people that went to this school fought that resistance tooth and nail. To give you an example, this is black owned now.
Okay.
The whole thing is black owned now. There was a young lady named Addie Luther, and Miss Luther, when I was growing up, she got the community to come together. Imagine this whole place is derelict, abandoned for years. She got the community to come together and she bought this, right? The community, she led the effort for the community to buy this. And so now it's run by an organization called the East Side Improvement Association.
Good.
And those individuals are all members of the community who keep the building up. They have a daycare over there now.
Okay.
They rent the gym out. This right here is a senior living facility.
Okay.
Right? And so this is people who grew up under that thumb that I was just telling you about, refusing to succumb to people who were doing everything they could do to oppress them.
All right, so we are now in downtown Asheboro, North Carolina, and you all obviously have done work from the east side all the way downtown in making sure that the ancestors are honored and that there's community in the downtown area that will recognize the contributions of the civil rights movement as well as enslaved human beings at one point of time. And so how important was it for you all to build relationships with downtown businesses and government as well to state your claim? To state your claim?
Tremendously important, tremendously important. The march that we do every year comes up this street right here. The city blocks off this particular part of the street. This whole street is blocked off for Juneteenth, and we have a street festival, we have singing, we have dancers, we have black vendors from all over the state that come in. And the beautiful part about it is the people that come, they come to spend money with those vendors. That's like part of the allure of the event is that we get to buy something from these black vendors.
Yeah.
That right here is something that the county is putting in. Is going to be the representation of the United States Constitution, the Bill of Rights, the Declaration of Independence, and what you'll see here is they're also going to add the Civil Rights Amendments. In a county as conservative as this one is, that's major right there, that they actually added the Civil Rights Amendments, and they're going to be put on display here. So again, small steps, but steps in the right direction. And this area right here is our old courthouse. Every time I used to get a traffic ticket, I used to have to go pay it or go to court in this building right here.
Did you have the pedal to the metal, brother?
Oh,
or were
man,
you parking where you weren't supposed to be parking?
I had a lead foot back in the day. But even to this day, our county commissioners meet in this building. So this is where, if you want to go and you have a grievance with your county, this is where you go meet with the county commissioners. And right in front of it, you have a 30-foot tall statue honoring the Confederacy. And for those who have any doubt, they put in writing, Confederates killed Americans in order to preserve and expand slavery.
Yeah.
And so for Juneteenth and for the Fall Festival, starting right about here in this grass, from that corner all the way to that corner down there, we have an 8-foot tall, 100-foot long memorial to those slaves. And we put the memorial up for 3 days, and it lists over 1,600 names of slaves that we can document were from Randolph County.
Wow.
And people come in, you have lawyers who will come in and say, where did you get the names for these slaves from? Because there were no slaves in Randolph County. And the documentation is right here, it's right across the street. That's our Register of Deeds office right there. The actual deeds are still in that building to this day if somebody wants to go look at them. But to have educated people to this day who still don't believe just how atrocious it was. You'll see names of 8-year-old girls given to grown men as Christmas presents.
I guess I'm baffled with the fact that we're in the American South, we're in North Carolina. For anyone to even conjure up this ideology that enslavement did not happen here, I mean, you know what I'm saying? Like, I just can't wrap my head around it. It's like when you're saying it, I'm hearing it, but I'm not even hearing it.
Man, let me tell you, this is an honor to the Confederates, it says to our Confederate heroes. Confederates assassinated men in Randolph County. There was no United States troops who came through Randolph County, but this place was put under martial law by General Robert E. Lee himself. And they found people who refused to fight, who refused to join the Confederacy, and killed them. Killed, I mean, dozens of them.
Yeah.
And the guy that they sent was a guy named McAllister. He was a lieutenant colonel. His name was McAllister. If you go down this street, about 2 blocks, the guy who hung, shot, and tortured Randolph County citizens, they got a street named after him. About 3 blocks up the street right there. That's welcome to Randolph County.
Welcome to Randolph County.
Yeah.
Yeah. That's wild, man. So we're seeing a lot of influx of people, and we talked about this, that have moved from Raleigh, Durham, Charlotte, some of these larger cities that are now moving into smaller cities, right? Like you see Graham growing. You see a lot of different smaller cities that are now growing. Winston-Salem's growing. What are your hopes for this city? What is some perhaps new innovation and ideas that you think may be able to come here to this city?
What we're starting to see right now, we're starting to see people with opposing views have the comfort, the ability and the comfort to actually speak up with opposing views. And that was something that wasn't necessarily happening just a few years ago. I mean, a few years ago, come on, we can come on, hush. A few years ago, it was, you would get drowned out. If you were in a restaurant and somebody said something offensive that they, and you tried to speak up for yourself, most of the restaurant would have been siding with the other people. Oh, you're just too sensitive. You just need to calm down. Yeah. Nowadays that's changed. Nowadays, you're seeing more and more people speak up for those people that are marginalized.
Yeah.
And to be honest with you, it's not just the black community. It's the Latino community is seeing discrimination. The LGBT community is seeing discrimination, and what we're seeing is more and more people standing up for injustice. Yeah. It's not just about race, it's about injustice, period. Mm-hmm. And I think that, especially as black people, we got to understand that injustice to anyone will lead to injustice to us. Yeah. If they do it to them, they damn sure gonna try and do it to us sooner or later.
Well, I mean, it's no holds barred once you're able to start once, right? Once you're able to get one and commandeer one group, then it just goes everywhere.
So these two buildings right here, 112 and 114 Sunset Avenue, these are our buildings. My dad bought these, and this one has been in our family since the 1960s, and this one has been in our family since the 1980s.
Wow.
Yeah, and so now we rent that one out to the Democratic Party. Very important. We wanted to have some Democratic representation in downtown Asheboro, and then we still run our rental business outside of the other one.
Okay.
Other building.
Now, as it relates to the family in general, and I don't know if you have kids or there's nephews and nieces or what have you, is it understood that this is to stay in the family?
Yes. Yes, it is understood that it stays in the family. Now, whether or not we have a next generation that's going to be here with them, we don't know about that part yet. That's still a work in progress.
Right.
Yeah, definitely, that we'll never sell those buildings.
Okay. So you have obviously you have the Republican headquarters right there, and the Democrat. So do they play nice?
They do.
Okay.
They do. The Republicans here are. There's two factions. Okay. There are people who genuinely feel like that the government might be wasting our money, and I would be willing to agree that there's a lot of waste all over the place. We might disagree on where it is. Yeah. You know.
So would this be considered like the main street?
Yes, this is Sunset Avenue.
So this is Sunset Avenue.
Yeah, we're in the middle of downtown Asheboro now.
Okay. Now, do you remember when you would come here? Do you remember coming here and family doing shopping? Hey, how y'all doing? Some shopping and things like that. And how has downtown changed as it relates to new businesses coming in?
Well, actually, downtown is going through a rebirth right now. For years, a lot of the businesses have left. The major businesses, like the major department stores and stuff like that, they're long gone. But you do see a lot of small businesses coming in and taking their places. Like I told you, the young lady that was when she was 8 years old. That's not, she's not much older than me now.
Right.
That building right there is where she was, and she drank out of the water fountain and they arrested her. Imagine being 8 years old and you drink out of a water fountain and get arrested and actually taken to jail. That happened.
Right. And so not this building, but the one that's over where the flag is?
No, this is the building right here.
Oh, this one right here, y'all. Okay, so where it says Antiques Collectibles.
It used to be the Belk's department store. And this right here is the Sunset Theater. So this is the building that GWCC owned and then sold to the city.
Okay.
And this is what the city has turned it into, and it's really a show place now.
Okay. And you all have a good partnership with them?
Yeah. The city has been very, very helpful. Very helpful. And now right here, there used to be a restaurant called Little Castle that was right here. And then this right here was Hop's Barbecue. And both of these places is where the sit-in, this is still Hop's Barbecue. Okay. Both of these places is where the sit-ins took place. And so people would sit down and become limp in front of that door, and they would come out and pour ammonia on them. Now, since that has happened, the granddaughter of the guy who owned the place then has come out and apologized for what her grandfather did back in those days. But this marker right here commemorates what those individuals went through.
So you said that the folks would come out here that were protesting they would come out here and lay down in the front of the store, and they would throw ammonia.
They would throw ammonia on them, and they would, before the police would arrest them, they would say, "Look, if you don't get up, we're gonna pour ammonia on you." And nobody got up, so they poured ammonia on them. And then the paper posted their names to try and get them fired from wherever they were working.
That's a trip.
Yeah.
And so this is the acknowledgement of that.
Yes.
When did this get installed?
This was installed probably 2014, 2015, something like that.
Okay.
This was something one of the members of my church had just passed, and we got in touch with the president of the NAACP at the time, and we were like, these people who were so instrumental in changing the history of Randolph County, they're dying. We got to do something to honor them. And so the president of the NAACP got in touch with the mayor at the time, and they worked together to put this up.
That's what's up. And again, right across over there, that building right there where it says healing is possible on the side, that's where the 8-year-old unfortunately was arrested for drinking out of a white water fountain.
Exactly.
And she's still alive.
She's still alive, yeah.
That's what's up.
So this is Gail's funeral home. This is where my grandfather started this business in 1942. And this is my mom's office.
Okay.
And this is my mom and my dad when they got married.
Love it.
And this is them at their 50-year wedding anniversary. That was probably taken a year before he passed.
Okay. You said this was the 50th?
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
Gotcha.
That was the 50th.
And you said that this is the oldest black business in
Randolph County. Yes, the oldest continually running black business in Randolph County. Yes, sir.
Wow.
Yes, sir.
Wow.
And my father and my grandfather, the motto has always been nobody can beat us in service. And just make sure that nobody can beat you in service, and to be an asset to the family. And that's something that we strive to do every day.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's what's up. So obviously you all see so many families from this community, from this county that come through these doors on a consistent basis. And you being a local historian are tied to probably the connection to most of these families because you know so much of the history here in the county. What added benefit do you feel like that is whenever you do provide services because you all are such a close-knit community?
Well, I think the benefit comes in being able to understand the family dynamics, understand the family culture. Different churches have different cultures, and to be able to not only respect but celebrate those cultures individually is a blessing. I think if somebody came in that wasn't aware of the different traditions and different cultures, I think they might have a challenge. And not only are we able to do that in our community, but we're learning that in other communities as well. And so it's a learning experience that's also, to be a historian, it's great to be able to add some of the history, right? 20 years from now, people are going to be talking about the Juneteenth on Worth Street, right? And the marches and things of that nature. But there are also going to be people who are going to be celebrating family members who passed on, who are going to be using some of the traditions that we started here. And that's another great feeling.
I love to hear it. And you all, they don't just, they serious about it. It says the history of American funeral directing. So they're steeped in the history.
Yeah.
All the way around. But no, this has been absolutely wonderful. And, you touring me around, I'm always passing here.
Right.
And thankfully, Phyllis connected us, of course, there in High Point. And I always take, extreme pride in individuals taking the time away, from their own busy schedule and allowing me to interview them. So as it relates to what you want people to know about Randolph County and the work that you're doing and what you want to see the future to look like, one question with that is, what does this do for your legacy and how would you like the future to look and what you want viewers to take away?
What I want people to take away from this is that we are in a county that is heavily conservative, but people are still striving forward. And if we can do it here, you can do it anywhere. And what I also want people to understand is that if God be for you, who can be against you? And saying that, I'm saying speak up. If you see something in your neighborhood that needs to be changed, be that change. Be that individual that stands up and speaks truth to authority, or makes that first step. We were just talking about this in church the other day. You know, the disciple Peter was able to walk on water, right? But before he could walk on water, he had to step out of the boat. Mm-hmm. He had to actually take that first step and do something that was superhuman. Well, all of us have the ability through God to do superhuman things, but we got to take the first step. And so if there's anything else that I have learned from my family, if I have learned from the people in this community who have overcome insurmountable odds to make it so that I have the rights that I have today, it's that we can do all things through Christ that strengthens us. These people were threatened at gunpoint. These people were threatened at gunpoint, but they still fought, and I get to vote. They were threatened at gunpoint. Some of them were threatened with being hung, but they still fought. And we can go eat at a restaurant. As long as the restaurant's open, we can go eat at any restaurant in the county. Some of those slaves were executed, and it was legal. There's a story of a young girl named Edie. Edie was 10 years old when her slaver bought her from Connecticut. Imagine being 10 years old and your family's in Connecticut and they put you on a buggy and bring you to North Carolina, right? That's got to be scary in its own right. Yeah. But when she got here, the slaver, she had a great life until she was 14, and something happened and he got mad at her. She's 14 years old. He gets mad at her. He strips her naked and makes her live outside. He chains her to a stump. So imagine going out and feeding the chickens chained to a stump. And so everywhere you go, you got to bring that stump around with you. He refused to feed her. And she ended up dying of exposure. That's murder.
And that was here in Randolph?
That was right here in Randolph. Oh, that's not the worst case. That's just the first one that came to my mind. But the sad part about it is that particular slaver was charged with disturbing the peace because the neighbors heard her crying so much that the neighbors complained. It was not illegal for him to kill her because she was a slave. So when you look at what Edie went through, and then when you look at what the young lady who was 8 years old and was arrested for drinking out of the water fountain went through, there are so many people who have sacrificed so much for me to be able to sit in this chair one day. I owe it to those people to give the best service I can to the families that come into this business. Mm-hmm. I owe it to those people to be the strongest advocate for justice I can at the NAACP. And we owe it to those people. We owe it to Edie. We owe it to those protesters to make sure that the events at GWCC benefit the community as much as possible. That's not something that we're doing out of vanity. That's paying a debt, basically.
Yeah. That's what's up, man.
Yeah.
Well, listen, this has been a great trip. Luckily, the good Lord saved the 100 and some odd degree temperatures.
Yeah.
But it's very humid outside.
Yeah, he left us the humidity.
Yeah, definitely. He left us the humidity. But this has been a great educational experience for me, and I hope it has for you all as well. And like I always say at the end of my videos, if you like this type of content that's unheralded, that has been minimized, that's not necessarily all over the history books, please make sure to subscribe and share this video. Also consider becoming a member because it does help with travel and lodging whenever I do have to go to these places. And again, think about places in your local community. Think about people in your local community that have made change. Yes, they may not be splattered on billboards and things like that, but they were movers and shakers and influenced elements of your community that still are there today. So make sure that you're also capturing those stories. It's family reunion season. It's the summertime. So make sure that you're putting a telephone, a small camera, or what have you in front of these elders and asking these questions. And so, Chip, I appreciate you, brother.
All right, man. Thank you very much. Thank you for your time.
Absolutely.
All right.
Peace.
Bye-bye.